time is merciless in its movement. Whether you choose to act or not, it does not pause, it does not wait, it does not negotiate. Every second that slips through your fingers is a second that will never return. And yet, within that same current of inevitability hides a secret. Transformation can occur in less than the blink of an eye. This is the paradox most people never truly grasp. They believe that change is linear, that it takes weeks, months, even years of suffering to shift what has been ingrained. But the field of quantum physics whispers something different. It suggests that in the very moment you choose, in the very breath you align with, an entirely new timeline becomes available. And the unsettling question is this: if time will pass anyway, what reality are you allowing it to carry you into? We are conditioned to think of change as a mountain to climb, one exhausting step after another, endlessly uphill. Yet every mountain has a hidden doorway, a narrow passage that few dare to look for. This doorway is not found by effort or by time, but by resonance. Physics tells us that particles can exist in multiple states at once until an observation collapses them into form. What if your life operates in the same way? What if the future you think will take years to create already exists, waiting only for you to collapse it into the now? This is not poetic exaggeration. It is the nature of quantum potential. But here's the twist. Most people never find the doorway, not because it isn't there, but because they are hypnotized by the illusion of time itself. Think of a pendulum swinging back and forth. If you watch closely, it seems to move slowly, predictably, inevitably. But if you stop focusing on the swing and instead look at the still point in the center, the axis from which it hangs, you realize there is a place of perfect rest, a timeless point from which all motion arises. Transformation is not born from the swing, but from the still point. The paradox is that change happens fastest when you step into the timeless. People chase self-help strategies, affirmations, external validation, but none of that touches the axis. The axis is found within, in the precise moment you decide to stop being carried and instead become the observer who shifts the swing itself. You might think this sounds abstract, but neuroscience confirms it. The brain is not a rigid machine locked into permanent patterns. It is plastic, adaptable, and can rewire itself in moments of deep coherence. Studies show that when emotion, thought, and physiology synchronize, new neural connections form instantly. That means the very identity you've been dragging through the years can dissolve and reform in the span of a heartbeat. The belief that change takes years is not science, but conditioning. And conditioning is nothing more than repetition without awareness. The second you bring awareness to the illusion, you have the chance to break it. But that's not the real reason transformation can be instant. There is a deeper key, and you'll see it unfold soon. Imagine a person standing before two paths. One path is long, winding, endless, filled with obstacles that seem insurmountable. The other path is almost invisible, hidden in plain sight, but it leads directly to the summit. Most people, convinced by their past experiences and the stories they've been told, automatically choose the long path because they trust difficulty more than ease. They believe struggle equals progress. But what if that belief is the very thing chaining them to slow transformation? What if the hidden path is available right now, but your mind keeps editing it out of your perception? Quantum physics has already proven that the observer's expectation determines what reality emerges. If you expect difficulty, you collapse the long road. If you dare to expect immediacy, the short path reveals itself. The question is, which reality are you observing into being in this very moment? This is where the paradox tightens its grip, because even knowing this, most people will not act. They will consume the idea, nod their heads, and then let another day pass unchanged. Time continues, silently eroding potential, until the person wakes up years later wondering where it all went. But you are not here by accident. The fact that these words are entering your awareness means the field has already conspired to show you the doorway. The only missing piece is whether you will step through it. That decision is not in tomorrow. It is not in next month. It is not in 5 years. It is now. Right now. The paradox of time and change is that the longer you wait, the more you reinforce waiting as your reality. And the faster you decide, the faster you collapse a new world into being. Somewhere deep inside, you already know this. You felt moments where everything shifted in an instant, where a decision, a realization, or even a single breath changed the entire trajectory of your life. That was not coincidence. That was quantum law revealing itself to you. But here is the incomplete puzzle. Why do those moments feel rare, almost accidental, instead of something you can activate at will? The truth is, they are not rare at all. You simply haven't learned how to stand at the still point consistently. This is the missing key. And once you see how to access it, change will stop being a distant hope and become a present reality. So as time continues to flow, unforgiving, unstoppable, neutral, ask yourself, will you let it carry you into more of the same? Or will you finally step into the paradox, the doorway where transformation doesn't take time at all, because it happens in the now? Keep listening, because the hidden mechanism behind this instant shift is about to be revealed, and it will dismantle everything you thought you knew about change. People are taught to believe that transformation is slow. Therapists speak of years of unraveling childhood wounds. Self-help gurus talk about long morning routines, endless affirmations, or a decade of discipline before real change can be achieved. Society feeds this narrative because it benefits from people moving slowly, consuming more, waiting longer, doubting themselves. But in the quantum model, speed is irrelevant. Reality does not measure time the way the human mind does. Reality responds to state, not to duration. The brain, the body, and the field do not ask how long you've been working at something. They respond only to coherence. The hidden mechanism of instant shifts lies here. Coherence is the currency of transformation, not time. Think of a tuning fork. Strike one fork and place it near another tuned to the same frequency, and the second fork begins to vibrate instantly. It does not need 10 years of practice to learn the vibration. It simply resonates. Your body is no different. When your thoughts, your emotions, and your physiology align with a single frequency, you resonate instantly with the reality that already holds that pattern. Neuroscience calls this neural plasticity. Spiritual traditions call it embodiment. Physics calls it resonance. Different languages, but the same truth. The shift is immediate when alignment is achieved. The delay exists only in your belief that delay is required. Consider how memory works. When you recall a traumatic event, your body doesn't wait days or weeks to relive the stress. Your heart rate rises immediately, your stomach tightens, cortisol floods your system. The body reacts as if the memory is happening now. That's because the brain doesn't distinguish between the remembered and the real. So if your body can instantly relive trauma, why wouldn't it also be able to instantly embody joy, gratitude, or empowerment when you choose to feed it those states? This is the hidden mechanism people overlook. Your biology is already wired for immediate response. The only thing missing is your conscious use of it. But hold on, this is not the full answer. There is still a piece missing, and without it, coherence collapses as quickly as it forms. The quantum field itself confirms this. At the subatomic level, particles respond instantly to shifts in observation. They don't hesitate, they don't delay. When the observer's focus moves, the wave collapses into a new state. In fact, the delay is not in the field, it's in us. It's the hesitation, the doubt, the internal contradiction between what we desire and what we embody that keeps us locked in the same loop. Imagine planting a seed and then digging it up every hour to check if it's growing. That is what doubt does. The soil, the quantum field, was ready to sprout the seed immediately. But your interference keeps resetting the process. The mechanism for instant shifts has always been here. What slows it down is your inability to remain in resonance long enough for it to stabilize. Pattern interrupt. Pause for a moment and notice how you're breathing. Has your breath slowed as you listened? Has your awareness drawn inward? That's not random. That's the field responding in real time to your attention. By noticing, you already disrupted the automatic rhythm of your nervous system. That disruption is the opening. In those seconds, you stepped out of habit and into choice. This is how thin the veil really is. One breath, one shift in awareness, one decision, and the entire machinery of identity begins to rewire itself. You don't need time, you need intensity of presence. The mistake most people make is trying to think their way into new states. They repeat words, they write affirmations, but they don't engage the body. Without emotion, words are empty. Without physiology, thought is just noise. The mechanism works only when all three, thought, feeling, and body, converge. This is why ancient practices like mantra, dance, or ritual were so powerful. They weren't about words, they were about coherence. When a tribe danced around a fire, they weren't wasting time. They were aligning as one organism, collapsing a shared reality. Modern science now measures this as heart-brain coherence. When the heart's electromagnetic field synchronizes with brainwave patterns, the body becomes a transmitter broadcasting a single frequency. That's when instant shifts happen. And yet there is one more layer to uncover. Because coherence alone is not enough. Think of a laser beam. It is powerful because it's coherent light, all photons vibrating in unison. But what gives it direction is focus. Without focus, coherence is just a glow. This is the incomplete puzzle most people miss. They may achieve fleeting moments of alignment, perhaps in meditation, perhaps in a sudden burst of gratitude, but without focus, the energy disperses. The hidden mechanism requires both coherence and focus. Only when you lock your awareness onto a chosen reality and hold it without scattering, does the field bend instantly to match you. So the real question becomes, how do you hold focus when the mind is addicted to distraction? This is where the technique itself will soon reveal its structure. But for now, understand this. Your shifts are not delayed by external forces, karma, or fate. They are delayed by incoherence, by scattered focus, by the belief in time as a prerequisite for change. Strip those away, and transformation is instant. The hidden mechanism of instant shifts is already working in you now. Every time you breathe, every time you feel, every time you observe. What's missing is your conscious mastery of it, and that mastery is exactly where we are heading next. You may have noticed something by now. Thinking about transformation is not the same as becoming transformation. The mind can understand concepts endlessly, but until the body encodes them, nothing changes. This is the silent barrier that keeps people stuck. They accumulate knowledge without embodiment. They read, they listen, they visualize, but they do not vibrate differently. And vibration is not an abstract metaphor. It is a measurable reality. Every cell in your body emits electromagnetic signals. Every thought is accompanied by a chemical. Every emotion by a frequency. The science is clear. Your state is not who you are in theory. It is what your body is broadcasting in practice. That broadcast determines the reality you collapse. Neville Goddard spoke of living in the end, not as a mental trick, but as a state of being. Joe Dispenza echoes this, teaching that when the heart and brain move into coherence, the body begins to live as though the future were already present. In those moments, your nervous system no longer waits for external proof. It encodes the new reality internally. And here is the fascinating part. The body doesn't argue. If you convince it through emotion and presence, it cannot tell the difference between memory and imagination, between future and past. This is not just philosophy. Neuroimaging studies confirm that when you imagine practicing a skill vividly, the same neural circuits fire as when you actually perform it. The brain literally rewires through imagination. What you rehearse internally becomes what you embody externally. But embodiment goes deeper than neurons. The heart itself generates the largest electromagnetic field of the body, extending up to 3 meters in every direction. When you sustain gratitude, joy, or love, the rhythm of the heart becomes ordered, sending a coherent signal that synchronizes with the brain. This state is called heart-brain coherence, and in it, the entire nervous system shifts. In other words, the body begins to broadcast a different frequency. If thought is the spark, emotion is the current, and physiology is the transmitter. Together, they create vibrational encoding, the imprint of a chosen reality into your being. Without this encoding, desires remain abstract. With it, they become magnetic. Consider this metaphor: a radio station. You can have the most beautiful song recorded, but unless you tune to the right frequency, you will never hear it. In the same way, your desired reality already exists as a signal in the quantum field. Embodiment is tuning your whole system to that frequency. Thinking about it is like holding the radio but never adjusting the dial. Feeling it deeply while your body remains in stress is like static, fragments of the song but never the melody. Only when thought, feeling, and physiology align do you finally tune in clearly. This is why people sometimes experience miracles in spontaneous remissions, sudden breakthroughs, or instant manifestations. They accidentally stumble into perfect vibrational encoding. The secret is that you can learn to do it deliberately. But here lies another curiosity gap. Why, if the body is capable of such encoding, do most people fail to sustain it? The answer is uncomfortable, because they don't truly believe they are allowed to. From childhood, we are trained to delay joy, to postpone freedom, to distrust ease. We are told that effort earns reward, that struggle builds worth. So even when people reach coherence for a moment, they unconsciously sabotage it, because the nervous system has been conditioned to equate safety with struggle. This conditioning is not just mental, it is biological. Cortisol patterns, neural wiring, and muscle memory all reinforce the belief that life must be difficult. Breaking this requires more than thought. It requires re-encoding the vibration of ease directly into the body. Imagine a dancer. At first they learn by thinking through every movement. Left foot here, right arm there, count the beats. It is mechanical, awkward, fragmented, but eventually something shifts. The body takes over. The dance becomes effortless, fluid, alive. This is embodiment. The dancer no longer thinks about dancing. They are the dance. Transformation works the same way. At first you practice presence, gratitude, alignment, as if they are foreign. But when you cross the threshold into vibrational encoding, the practice disappears. You no longer try to feel different. You are different. The state becomes your baseline. That is the moment reality bends instantly, because you are no longer chasing alignment. You are broadcasting it. This is why spiritual teachers across centuries have insisted that you become what you desire. It was never about pretending. It was about encoding. If you want abundance, you cannot think abundance while vibrating fear. If you want love, you cannot speak of love while broadcasting self-rejection. The field does not respond to words, it responds to vibration. Your true prayer is the frequency you embody, not the sentences you repeat. This explains why some people seem to manifest effortlessly, while others struggle despite effort. It is not about how hard you try. It is about how coherently you embody. So let's close one loop and open another. The hidden mechanism of instant shifts works through coherence, and vibrational encoding is how you stabilize it. But here's the puzzle. If coherence plus embodiment is the secret, why don't we all live in constant miracles? Why do even dedicated practitioners fall back into stress, fear, or doubt? The missing piece is practice, but not practice in the sense of time. It is practice in the sense of intensity. A single second of full embodiment outweighs hours of distracted effort. And there is a precise technique to access this intensity, a technique that collapses coherence, focus, and vibrational encoding into a single act. That is where we are heading next. Everything we've uncovered so far points toward one unavoidable truth. Transformation doesn't take time, it takes alignment. But how do you align at will? How do you collapse coherence, focus, and embodiment into a single act powerful enough to shift your reality instantly? The answer is not complicated. In fact, its simplicity is what makes most people overlook it. The fastest technique for transformation is not a ritual requiring hours, nor a list of affirmations written endlessly, nor a lifetime of discipline. It is a practice that fuses thought, emotion, and physiology into one command to the field. It begins with the breath. Breath is the bridge between body and field. Inhaling is the act of receiving. Exhaling is the act of releasing. Yet most people breathe mechanically. never realizing they hold in their lungs the most direct lever for transformation. Here's the technique. Take a conscious breath into the heart, not the chest. Imagine the air entering directly into the space behind your sternum, filling the heart with energy. Hold it for a moment, not in strain but in stillness, as if the entire universe is pausing with you. Then exhale slowly, while summoning the exact feeling of the reality you desire. Gratitude, peace, joy, freedom. Do not think the feeling. Generate it. Let your body feel as though it already happened. This breath, synchronized with emotion, becomes the ignition of coherence. Now, here comes the crucial step. As you breathe and feel, you must give your mind a target. Focus not on the absence of what you want, but on the frequency of having it. If it's abundance, feel wealth moving through your veins. If it's love, feel the warmth of connection in your skin. If it's freedom, feel the expansion in your chest. This is not visualization in the traditional sense. This is vibrational encoding in real time. Your breath orders the nervous system, your emotion energizes the field, and your focus collapses the wave into form. One breath like this is more powerful than 1,000 thoughts scattered by doubt. Science confirms this process. HeartMath Institute studies reveal that when subjects sustain heart-focused breathing and positive emotion, their electromagnetic field becomes measurably coherent. This coherence not only stabilizes internal systems like hormones and brainwaves, but also radiates outward, interacting with the environment. In essence, your body becomes a laser of frequency, broadcasting into the quantum field. When paired with focused intention, the broadcast aligns with potential realities already existing as probabilities. The field does not resist, it responds. The shift is instant, because the field is timeless. You may wonder, can it really be this simple? The incomplete puzzle lies here. Most people do not repeat it enough to stabilize the shift. They take one breath, feel a flicker of alignment, and then return to stress. But imagine doing this deliberately, 3 times a day. 3 conscious breaths, each one a full embodiment of the reality you choose. Not hours, not years, just moments of total coherence. The nervous system would rewire, the field would lock onto the new broadcast, and your reality would begin reorganizing itself to match. The technique is fast because speed is not the factor. Intensity is. Pattern interrupt. Stop for a second. Place your hand over your heart. Inhale deeply as though air is entering that space, and exhale with gratitude as if something you've been waiting for has already arrived. Did you feel the difference? That shift you just created is the very technique we are talking about. You didn't have to wait years, you didn't have to fight for it, you only had to choose coherence, focus, and embodiment in one act. Now imagine sustaining that choice daily. What would your life look like 6 months from now? A year? The field responds faster than you expect, but it waits for you to stabilize your signal. This is why the ancient mystics were right when they said prayer is not words but state. This is why Neville Goddard insisted that living in the end is the secret. This is why Joe Dispenza teaches that elevated emotion plus coherent intention equals manifestation. They were pointing to the same technique. Breathe, feel, focus, embody. It is simple enough to be dismissed but powerful enough to alter reality. The only barrier is your willingness to practice not with effort, but with presence. And here is where I invite you to anchor this practice now. Write it, claim it, declare it in the comments below. I breathe my future into the now. This simple phrase aligns your action with your intention, and in typing it, you reinforce the embodiment of the technique itself. Do not let it remain theory. Declare it, feel it, and begin collapsing timelines with your own breath. So the doorway is open, the path is clear. Transformation does not belong to the future. It belongs to the moment you choose to embody it. And with every conscious breath, you hold the power to rewrite your life. Yet there is still one more layer because knowing the technique is not enough. The question is how to live inside it, how to make the quantum shortcut your natural state instead of a fleeting glimpse. That is the journey we enter next. Knowing the technique is one thing, Living inside it is another. Most people treat practices like this as isolated rituals, something to be done in the morning, quickly forgotten by the afternoon, and remembered again when life feels unbearable. But the quantum shortcut is not meant to be a ritual. It is meant to become the default operating system of your life. The breath, the coherence, the embodiment, they are not temporary tools, they are states of being you return to until they become who you are. The difference between those who taste transformation once and those who live transformation daily is not luck, it is continuity. Think of the way a river carves through stone. One drop of water seems insignificant, but repeated drops, consistent flow, carve entire canyons. The technique works the same way. One breath may open the door, but repeated breaths build the new landscape of your life. Neuroscience explains this through Hebb's law. Neurons that fire together wire together. Every time you breathe into the heart and generate elevated emotion, you reinforce the neural pathway of coherence. With repetition, that pathway becomes the dominant pattern, replacing stress, doubt, or fear. Spiritual traditions describe the same process as building faith. What science calls neuroplasticity, mystics have always called devotion. But here is where the quantum shortcut reveals its true power. It accelerates time. When you live inside coherence, events begin to reorganize around you at a speed that defies logic. Opportunities appear out of nowhere. People cross your path at the perfect moment. Solutions that once seemed impossible suddenly unfold with ease. The logical mind dismisses these as coincidences, but the quantum model explains them as resonance. Your vibrational encoding broadcasts into the field, and the field reorganizes matter to match. Living in the shortcut means no longer chasing results linearly, it means magnetizing them non-linearly. You may recall moments in your life when everything seemed to align in a single day. You met the right person, received unexpected news, felt clarity wash over you. Those moments were not accidents. They were brief episodes of coherence where your inner and outer reality synchronized. The tragedy is that most people dismiss them as rare luck instead of realizing they are glimpses of a natural state. The shortcut is not about creating those moments, it is about normalizing them. Imagine waking up each morning not wondering if life will work out, but knowing that reality is bending to your state. Imagine problems dissolving not because you forced them away, but because the frequency you live in no longer sustains them. That is the quantum shortcut, the collapse of effort into alignment. Pattern interrupt. Notice how your mind is trying to rationalize this. Perhaps a part of you is saying, "But life can't really be that easy." That voice is the echo of conditioning. The shortcut feels impossible to those who have built their identity around struggle. Yet physics shows us that struggle is not a law, it is a choice. The electron does not struggle to jump to a higher orbit when energy is added, it simply leaps. The body does not struggle to heal a cut, it simply closes the wound. Ease is the law of life, and difficulty is the exception we learn to worship. The shortcut is a return to the natural flow. To live this way, you must practice not only the breath, but the vigilance of awareness. The world will attempt to pull you back into stress, fear, and distraction. Each time you will be tempted to collapse the old reality again. But the shortcut remains available, as close as your next breath. The question is not whether it works. It always works. The question is whether you will remember to choose it. When you forget, you return to the long road. When you remember, you re-enter the shortcut. Life becomes a dance of remembering again and again, until remembering itself becomes your default. This is where the shift from doing to being occurs. At first, you do the technique. Breathe, feel, focus. But eventually, the doing disappears. You wake up already in coherence. You walk into rooms and people feel a presence they can't explain. You speak, and your words carry weight not because of content, but because of frequency. You stop waiting for external proof because you are already the proof. This is when manifestation ceases to feel like manifestation. It feels like reality responding naturally to who you are. There is one last curiosity loop we must address. If the shortcut is so powerful, why doesn't everyone live this way? Because the mind is addicted to complexity. People distrust simplicity. They want 10 steps, 20 rules, a lifetime of effort, because complexity justifies delay. The shortcut dismantles that illusion. It says one breath, one focus, one embodiment, now. Simplicity is terrifying because it removes excuses. Once you know transformation can be instant, you can no longer blame time. You can no longer hide behind waiting. You must choose. And choice is power disguised as responsibility. Living in the quantum shortcut is not about perfection, it is about persistence. It is about choosing again and again until choosing becomes effortless. The field does not demand flawless coherence, it responds to direction. Each time you choose alignment, you send a new signal, and reality responds. Over time, the cumulative effect is staggering. A year from now, you may look back and realize you barely recognize yourself, not because you climbed the mountain slowly, but because you found the hidden doorway and walked straight through it. And now we stand at the threshold of the final revelation, because beyond the speed of transformation, there lies something even greater, a way of stepping beyond time itself, not just living faster, but living timeless. That is where we are heading next, and once you understand it, the idea of waiting for anything will dissolve completely. The promise of speed is seductive. Everyone wants results faster, transformation now, manifestations without delay. But speed still belongs to time. It still measures itself against minutes, days, and years. To truly step into the quantum nature of reality, you must go beyond speed altogether. You must step into timelessness. Because in the quantum field, there is no countdown, no waiting room, no linear path to follow. There is only the eternal present, the infinite now. And once you embody this, life ceases to be about rushing toward a future. It becomes about inhabiting the frequency where the future is already done. Think about how you experience flow states. Athletes describe moments on the field where time seems to slow down. Artists describe creating for hours without realizing a single second has passed. In those states, time is not moving faster or slower. It simply disappears. Neuroscience shows that in flow, the brain shifts into altered states of consciousness, down-regulating the prefrontal cortex, the part of the mind obsessed with measuring time and controlling outcomes. The result? You step out of the prison of linearity and into the field of possibility. Spirituality calls this presence. Science calls it transient hypofrontality. Both point to the same truth. Timelessness is the real power. When you live in timelessness, desire itself transforms. Instead of wanting something to come, you live as though it is already here. Instead of striving, you radiate. Instead of waiting, you allow. This shift is subtle but revolutionary, because the field does not distinguish between memory, present, and future. It responds to the state you embody now. When you collapse into timelessness, you stop reinforcing the vibration of waiting and begin broadcasting the vibration of having. And reality, obedient as always, mirrors it back to you. Consider light. For the photon, the particle of light, there is no time. It leaves a star billions of years away and reaches your eye as though no time has passed at all. The photon exists in the eternal now. You are made of the same field, governed by the same laws. The belief in delay is a mental construct, not a universal truth. To become timeless is to recognize your nature as light, traveling without time, collapsing realities instantly, embodying what already exists rather than waiting for it to arrive. Pattern interrupt. Feel into this moment right now. If you stopped counting minutes, if you forgot what day it was, what would remain? Only this breath, only this sensation, only this now. That is timelessness. And inside it, everything you thought was far away collapses into reach. Your dreams are not distant. They are hidden in the veil of linear thinking. Remove the veil, and they are here, right here. This is why ancient teachings emphasized presence above all else. The power was never in tomorrow. It was always in the now. Neville Goddard taught that imagining the end as real collapses the delay. Joe Dispenza demonstrates that when you live in the feeling of the future now, the brain and body rewire instantly. Amit Goswami reminds us that consciousness chooses reality in the present moment of observation. The mystics and the scientists converge on this single truth. Timelessness is the seat of creation. Living beyond speed is liberation. It means you no longer measure your progress by the clock or compare yourself to others' timelines. You no longer postpone your joy until conditions align. You live as though everything is already complete, and paradoxically, that is when completion shows up in form. People around you will call it luck, destiny, even magic. But you will know, it is simply timeless coherence radiating through you. And this is where your journey continues beyond this video. Because what you've learned here is not just a technique, it is the doorway into an entirely new way of being. If you are ready to deepen this path, to practice timeless embodiment with clarity and guidance, I created a resource to walk with you further. It's an ebook called Awaken Your Quantum Power, and inside it you'll also find a practical companion book designed to help you live these truths daily. You'll find the link in the pinned comment below. So let us close with this truth. Time will pass anyway, but who you are becoming in the now determines what that time will carry into form. Do not chase speed. Step into timelessness, because when you do, life stops being about waiting for transformation and becomes the living embodiment of transformation itself. And once you live in that state, miracles are no longer miracles. They are simply the natural rhythm of who you are.